What you gonna do to separate yourself? Some guys are naturally just blessed and gifted, and some guys are, hard workers, dedicated, and not gonna be outworked.
Maalik Benjamin Wayns, born March 2nd, 1991. In the 2012 NBA draft, 7 point guards in total were taken between the first and second rounds. None of them were today's feature Maalik Wayns, All Biggies, and Parade All-American at Villanova. He improved as a scorer, assist man, and free throw shooting in his 3-year college stay, as the team unfortunately didn't have the same success, going from making the second round of the tournament to winning just 13 games his final year. If you liked above average height, stocky, elite ball handling, and ball dominant guards with typical East Coast game, then you would have loved Malik Wayns as an amateur. When thinking of Villanova basketball, it's hard not to reminisce on the magical Randy Foye, Allen Ray, Kyle Lowry era, whereas guards, they represented exactly what you would expect from 3 East Coast bred guards playing for an East Coast minded Villanova that wowed you with their elite guard play, putting Villanova basketball back on the map with their tough, savvy, perfect mix of flashy and solid style that showed East Coast guards were still in position, at least on the amateur level. Malik Wayns would have fit right in. Instead, he came 2 guard eras removed in the late Scotty Reynolds, Corey Fisher era with a chance to lead his own charge as a junior. In that year, Villanova just so happened to have their worst season in a decade at 13-19 and missing the tournament altogether. Malik Wayns was advised not to enter the 2012 NBA draft and return for his senior season, giving himself a chance to redeem his only year as captain of the ship, but he decided to stay in anyway. Leaving school early is great, as I think for some reason and at some point the league started looking down on players that stayed all 4 years in school, especially guards, associating it with something had to be wrong with your game, that in 4 years you didn't have one season where you proved you were NBA talent and good enough to leave early in this new era of one and done high school YouTube phenoms. Malik went undrafted that year, which surprised many that the former McDonald's All-American and Villanova standout didn't hear his name called. He would be signed by his hometown Philadelphia 76ers and from there played just a total of 29 games in the NBA. He was right there with a chance to plant both feet in a league he seemingly had great skill set for, but for these reasons, that never happened and his growth was stunted. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. You can also send a super thanks by clicking the button below. Enjoy the video. Malik Wayns is a 6'1" point guard from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania that was late to the radar, making a name for himself as a junior in high school for Roman Catholic. That year, he averaged 22, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds, and named the MVP of the Catholic League for the first time. His senior year, he missed 3 weeks of the regular season and was still named MVP once again, behind his 19, 5, and 5 average. By the end of the year, he was a Parade and McDonald's All-American, choosing Villanova over Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, and St. Joseph's. He was ranked the best player that year in Pennsylvania and a top 3 point guard in the nation. Stunt number 1, not developing his shot. As the years increase and the NBA culture gets older, it's becoming more and more clear that one of, if not the main skill an NBA player at any position should want to develop at some point is their ability to shoot the basketball. It's the easiest attempt at the basket in the game, as unlike the others, you can do that literally as soon as you step in bounds. Anyone can do it regardless of your height or the defenders once you're savvy enough with how you set it up, and it's the easiest skill to work on. Not to mention, it's arguably the first skill you ever learn. Shooting is so important. For a guard that's also undersized, it's a must-have that can make or break a career if it's not polished and efficient. It's one of the things that baffled me about Maalik because when you watch him shoot, he always had a pretty smooth release. There were no hitches or hesitation to his shot, but for some reason, he was never a great shooter from three, and as the years went on, this hurt him more and more. At Villanova, Waynes stepped into a guard-ran offense led by Scotty Reynolds and Corey Fisher, with shades of being what Kyle Lowry was for Allen Ray and Foy previously. That could be the sleeper that actually has the better NBA career. Looking back, he was the only of the three that made the NBA. In year two, he had a much bigger role on the team, and next to Corey Fisher and Stokes, they made the tournament, losing in the second round once again. Maalik averaged 13.8 points and nearly 5 assists a game, and shot 27% from three, down from 31 as a freshman. With the closer three-point line and a great-looking shot, it's confusing why this was the case. As a junior, Maalik was expected to step fully out the shadows and into the driver's seat, and individually, that's what he did, although the team played poorly. One of the things expected of Waynes was to prove he could actually shoot the ball decent from the college three, seeing as things would get much more difficult on the next level. He shot in the 20s once again, solidifying he'd go undrafted at his size, his lack of ability to provide elsewhere on the floor for himself and others, and it not leading to wins. He did go undrafted, but signed with the Sixers and lasted just 21 games before being waived, specifically because he struggled with his shot at 29% from three. Shooting can make or break you. It's the main reason Maalik Wayns didn't last. Stunt number 2, not establishing himself. Speaking of lasting, who would have thought Maalik Wayns would play just 8 more games after his time with the Sixers his rookie year? Even though he wasn't that great a shooter, I still love the way he set up and attacked on offense and how savvy he was in pick and roll situations. Even watching his highlights today, he's one of my favorites to watch off screen and rolls, as he seems to be a step ahead of the defense, especially the second defender. But the road to planting your feet firmly in the league as a second round pick, much less undrafted like Waynes was, can be one of the most difficult things to do. A key reason is because you don't get the room for error like a first rounder does, and that in itself can hinder your play in certain situations. In Philly, Maalik played behind a young Drew Holiday, who made his first All-Star team that year, and a young Evan Turner, who the 76ers used basically as a point guard that was still very solid across the board for them, as Maalik even struggled to beat out 2011 second-round pick Charles Jenkins. He was waived, then signed to a 10-day contract 2 days later, but not re-signed at the end of it, and off to the G League he went. He'd have to wait till March 2013 to get his next NBA opportunity, being signed to a few 10 days with the Chris Paul-era Clippers, again a tough situation for an undrafted, non-defensive point guard that can't shoot to thrive in. They also had Chauncey Billups, Eric Bledsoe, and Jamal Crawford in front of him, so minutes were ultra hard to come by. He played 6 games in 12-13 and another 2 the following year before the Clippers waived him for the last time, January 2014. Stunt number 3, not developing other skills. If I asked you, is Patrick Beverley a better player than Maalik Wayns, what would you say? I know for me, if you asked me back when Waynes was at Villanova, I'd immediately give it to him. Ask me today, I still might. But Patrick Beverley has played 10 seasons in the NBA and Maalik Wayns 29 games, both undrafted leaving college. Although Maalik has a game that's appealing to the eyes and say Patrick Beverley doesn't, Beverley has found a way to appeal himself to teams in the league looking for a guy that's a vocal leader on the floor, competes at a dangerously high level, is solely committed to the defensive end, and has a personality infectious with his home or away crowds, which is underrated in you sticking in the NBA. Maalik Wayns, like my most recent feature Carson Edwards, is only good when putting the ball in the basket and pretty much at no other time. He gets where he wants to on the floor, but that hasn't resulted in much playmaking at 1 assist per game in the league and 3.4 in college. Again, he didn't prove he could knock down catch and shoot threes, and defensively you wouldn't know he's out there. You have to be elite at something in order to stick on a level like the NBA, and Maalik just wasn't developed enough in those areas, and it cost him longevity. All in all, Maalik Wayns was a nice player that I think in the right situations could have been a legit NBA point guard. Unfortunately, some of his skills didn't catch up soon enough and he couldn't establish himself in the league for these reasons. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.